very little I don't share on social media. I would say the top things that I don't share are family that don't want to be recorded and children. But the third thing that I don't share on social is my sourdough journey. For the first time ever, it's been a couple of months since I've been at this, maybe just one, I don't know. I wanted to just enjoy this journey and let it be a hobby and not have to edit a video on it, just figure this out for myself and just, yeah, have a hobby undistracted. I haven't had a hobby in a long time. Sourdough has been that hobby. But I'm now in a place where I'm ready to share the journey. I feel like everyone on social that makes sourdough is very experienced and does a really, really good job. Well, I just want to do it as someone that's not experienced and kind of needs some help. So you want to help me? If you know how to make sourdough, I would love you to watch this video in full and give me all the tips and tricks, because I feel like mine's not rising. It tastes so good. I just feel like we're missing a rise. And if you don't make sourdough and you don't have experience, I want you to watch this too, because I feel like I'll show you that even if it's not perfect, it's still so good. So this process takes a couple of days. So I'm gonna start with my starter. Straight from the fridge, mine is pretty bubbly and has like a really nice smell to it. I think it's at a good place. One time I made it with this as my discard and I just let it rise like for longer instead of making a new starter and having like an active starter. And I actually feel like that loaf came out better than when my starter is at its peak. I think I'm gonna make 2 loaves in the next couple of days, one fed and one unfed. So today we're gonna feed this starter and we're gonna see what happens. I'm also gonna be trying bread flour for the first time because I've yet to use bread flour in a loaf. I've been using all-purpose flour. So we'll see if that makes a difference, even though the protein content in all-purpose versus my bread flour is like 1% different. So I don't know if it'll make a difference. I'm not a very precise person ever, but sourdough requires you to be precise. So I measure with a scale. This is my sister's scale. I need to give it back to her one day. My jar, I wrote down how much this jar weighs. I have a Google Doc and I have my laptop right next to me. This is my setup every time I make sourdough. I bring my desk over so I can prop my laptop on it, and then everything else happens over here. My kitchen's kind of messy right now. And then I have my Google Doc with all of my sourdough notes. So this jar with nothing in it weighs 344 grams, is 146. So I have 146 grams of starter right here. And I could discard, but I hate discarding. I feel like it's such a waste. So I think I'm just gonna let it go from here and grow from here. So this recipe says half medium protein, bread flour, and half whole wheat flour. So I'll try the bread flour now. Even though I would just like to finish my bag of all-purpose, but whatever. I'll do 73 grams of each. Like, is it important to get it to 73? Like, how exact do we need it? What difference does 1 gram make? I'm a very type B personality, so it has been difficult to have to be so exact in my sourdough process. And like, I know that there's possibility for flexibility. I refuse to believe that a million years ago, they were doing this. They weren't, and they were making good bread. So now we do the same amount, an equal portion of whole wheat flour. I heat a little water in this kettle because they say like warm-ish water is better than cold or hot water. So I heat it and then I stop it right before, or like a few seconds before it comes to a boil. I don't know if that's right. I don't, like some people will actually take a temperature thermometer to theirs and check the temperature. I don't do that. I don't really want to, so I hope people tell me it's not a big deal. So we zero it out and then we start to measure. Water is tough because you can't remove it, so you have to be really slow and really careful. So that's 146. So then we mix this and we're gonna let it sit for about 4 hours or till it doubles in size. I am a little bit worried because I'm starting kind of late. It's after 5, so that'll take me to like 9 o'clock, which is pretty late. I've also seen a lot of people mix their dough and their starter with wooden spoons and people not use metal. I don't know why. I've never looked into that. Maybe that's why my dough's not ready? I don't think so. And when I say my dough's not rising or like my bread's not rising, I mean, it does rise before I bake it. I just feel like in the oven, it doesn't reach, like it doesn't continue to grow or it deflates or something. Like it's not, but it rises before I put it in the oven. I also haven't shared this on Instagram yet because I feel like people are sourdough snobs. I mean, I've only had like very nice people say things, but I'm like worried for someone to be like, oh, that's ugly or that's not sourdough, because I'm enjoying it so much and I don't want people to make me feel like it's not worth it. You know what I mean? And I can easily say like, oh, the comments don't get to me, like I won't take it and it's not a big deal, it's just bread, but they can get to you, you know? They just make you feel dumb. I'm like, I'm not dumb. Maybe I am, but I don't think I am. I'm gonna go put this in a sunny area, which there's not a lot right now because it's kind of a cloudy day and it's not as warm outside as it should be in April. Mixing bowl, we need to scale back. My first loaf ever, I made with 100% whole wheat flour, and it came out so delicious. So after I get one loaf right with regular white flour, I'm gonna do another one with 100% whole wheat because it was so good. And whole wheat flour is stone milled, so it has more protein and more fiber. And if I'm gonna be making bread at home, I might as well optimize the health and not care so much about, you know, its density or how it rises, because it's not like I'm selling it. I'm making it for my family, and it still tasted good and it still looked good. Okay, this might be the most amount of flour I've ever used in one recipe. So what I think that means is that this is gonna either make multiple loaves or one really big one, but I think it's gonna make multiple loaves, and then I'll freeze some because sourdough doesn't stay that good very long. I store mine in the fridge and I basically eat it every day until the loaf is gone. But if I have multiple loaves, then I'll put one in the freezer. 17 grams of salt. I think I'm making a mistake by starting this so late. I normally start much earlier and then let it go overnight, and I'm normally really good about that. I did miss one step on this recipe because it's different than the process I've been following for a while. I didn't notice until I watched he had a little like video at the bottom, and I decided to watch it and just realized a little too late. I missed the step. So what he does is he puts some of the water, not all of it, most of it, into the flour. He wets his hand like this, and he basically hydrates it and lets it sit. And he said this is like a step to help the flour hydrate so that you don't have to overmix later. It helps produce gluten so that you don't have to manually produce the gluten in the dough. Let this sit for a couple of hours before I add it. That's gonna take me to 10 o'clock already. I already mixed my salt and my flour because I wasn't anticipating this step. And he does not do that. He adds the salt later. I don't know if that'll be a problem or not. And whenever I get nervous when I'm baking, things don't work out the way they should. I will say I prefer not having extra steps, and there's plenty of sourdough recipes on the internet that don't have this extra step. So if it doesn't yield significantly different results for me, I don't think I will use this recipe. I'll cover this for now and check back on it in 2 hours. And by the time that I check back on this, I think my starter will be at a perfect place. All right, so this is hydrated. It's been sitting for almost 2 hours and it looks pretty good. My starter has doubled in size. It's the first time my starter's ever overflowed like that, which is because I never keep that much in there, that's why. Now we need 151 grams of leaven, or basically my starter. And a very little bit of water. He's very specific about adding like a little bit at a time, only as needed, and not over watering because it's hard to go back. I'm super concerned. This is the most wet my dough has ever been, and that has to be because of the, what is it called? The autolyse step. I don't always know exactly what my dough is supposed to look like. Like sometimes I look at the photos and the videos of other people and I feel like that's what mine looks like, so why isn't it staying fluffy in the oven? What I'm really concerned about is the time. It's 10 o'clock and I haven't even started the bulk fermentation process and all the stretches and folds that need to happen, and I would love to get ready and go to bed. And this is the first time I've ever started my dough halfway through the day, which is totally my fault. I shouldn't do that. I don't know why I did that today. I just didn't, I felt like this recipe wasn't too much, and now I'm looking at it and it's definitely a detailed one. That's also something I found out looking at sourdough recipes is men. If you're learning from a man, it's so detailed, it's so anal. Like there's yet to be like a chill guy making sourdough on YouTube, but there's a lot of like very anal women too. There's a lot of really chill women who are like, whatever, like your sourdough process can be like on your time, not on the dough's time. It's like smoothing out a little bit. So I let it sit for 15 minutes and then I do one set of stretch and folds. 15 minutes later, one round of stretch and fold. So stretch, fold. One of the comments under the post said, don't be afraid to be aggressive. So I'm gonna do that kind of aggressively. I actually love the texture of this dough so far. Cover, I'm like fully ready for bed. I mean, it says 6 sets of stretch and folds. First 3 sets are 15-minute intervals, last 3 sets are 30-minute intervals. Does it really need to be 6 sets? 30 minutes apart? It looks really good though. It's coming together so nicely. It looks super good. I don't know, man. I think what I'll do is like, if I'm awake in 30 minutes, I'll do another set, and if I'm asleep, I will be asleep. After that, you divide and pre-shape. I mean, technically there's like an hour more left. My question is, what happens if I don't stretch and fold 3 more times and I put it straight into the bowl, into the proofing basket? Fortunately, we're gonna find out what happens because it's almost 11 o'clock. I wasn't anticipating not following the rules. I feel like nothing bad will happen if I let this rest overnight in the fridge for 8 hours and I shape it tomorrow and let it rest for another couple of hours. Nothing's gonna happen. Whatever, it's going into proofing baskets anyways because I don't know. Flip it out onto my bowl. So I'm just gonna put each one into its own proofing basket. I cut it in half because that's what the instructions say. And I'm technically skipping a round or 2 of stretch and folds, and I'm skipping the pre-shape. Instead, I'm gonna let it sit in the fridge overnight. I'll pre-shape it tomorrow. I'll let it sit for a little bit longer. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's my fault for not timing this out better. There's no way the OG sourdough makers were stretching and folding their bread 6 different times within 4 hours. There's just no way. I don't buy it, I don't believe it, and I'm going to assume good bread is gonna come out without doing it. Good morning, it is the next day. I put both of my doughs out in the sun when I woke up because I figured they could probably need a little more help than I gave them. I've been preheating my Dutch oven, so it's been preheating at 500, I think, and then I just turned it down to 450. I think one of the mistakes that I typically make is folding it before I put it in the oven. I feel like I'm supposed to just fold it that one time and then immediately, actually, yeah, hold on. I'm just supposed to fold it while it's in the bowl, I think. And then when I turn it out, oops. I don't shape it anymore. So I think you just pre-shape it that one time. And you don't shape once it's out. I have no idea. I don't know, and then I'm gonna score it, which my score on this one is not gonna be so cute. First 20 minutes is done. Now we just pull off the lid and then it goes in for another 30. That doesn't look terrible. But I will be honest, it doesn't look like it's fluffy at all. That looks about as flat as it gets. Well, it's done. And I have to say, I'm extremely unhappy with this loaf. It is so flat, it barely rose. I am so ridiculously unhappy. I mean, it's not the ugliest thing I've ever seen, but no sourdough is. It's kind of cute, but it's so flat. I haven't seen anybody else's sourdough online look as flat as mine. I would say it's my fault for not following the recipe to the T because I started too late, but I've had several loaves turn out this flat. So, and the only one that came out fluffier and better is the one where I used discard. Oh my gosh, yeah, this is the worst one yet. Before you tell me it's over or underproofed, you have to tell me what that means because I don't know, this is definitely the worst loaf I've ever made though. How unfortunate. Overall, I would say that's what I get for going against a promise I made to myself. I said I wouldn't put it up on social media, and I did, so it's my fault for doing that. I do need some help. I'm not understanding why this is happening, and I refuse to believe it's because of my starter. My starter seems just fine. I think it is over or underproofing, and I don't know which one, and I don't know how to fix it. But it tastes really good. Please send all your tips and tricks in the comments. Tell me exactly what it is I'm doing wrong if you know. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for the next one. I'll be doing a follow-up after I get help from you guys. Thanks for watching.